In a league that thrives on explosions, viral dunks, and loud personalities, how do you explain a player who dominates almost in silence? How does someone who rarely appears in massive commercials, who doesn't live off flashy highlights, and who plays in a small market manage to force his way into the conversation of the NBA's elite? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander didn't arrive shouting. He arrived in control. While many are still debating whether he belongs among the league's true superstars, opponents already know the answer, because they feel it every night. Every hesitation move, every change of pace, every clutch possession tells the same story. Shai doesn't ask for respect. He takes it, and that's exactly what we're breaking down today. 5 clear, undeniable reasons why Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is no longer knocking on the door of superstardom. He's already sitting at the table. Before we go on, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments, in your opinion, is Shai already a superstar, or does he still have something to prove? Because after this video, that debate won't be the same. Every superstar has a moment that the casual fan doesn't notice, but the game does. It's not a buzzer beater or a viral dunk. It's the moment when a player stops reacting to the game and starts dictating it. For Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, that moment came when he stopped being treated as a promising young talent and started being game planned against as the #1 threat. In the NBA, that shift changes everything. Help defense comes earlier, traps get more aggressive, space disappears, and that's usually where young stars break. Shai didn't just survive that transition, he thrived in it. The Oklahoma City Thunder stopped being a rebuilding team with potential and became a team built around his control of the game. He stopped scoring because the game allowed it and started scoring because the game had no other option. You can see that shift clearly in how defenses guard him. Long wings, physical defenders, constant switches, traps in the pick and roll, it doesn't matter. While others speed up under pressure, Shai slows the game down. He turns contact into advantage, tight spaces into opportunities. That's when you realize something rare is happening. The game is moving too slowly for him. It's no longer about raw athleticism, but about timing, patience, and surgical precision. And that's not the profile of a prospect. That's the signature of a finished product. There's also a psychological layer to this transformation. Shai has embraced responsibility in the game's most uncomfortable moments. Final 2 minutes. 1 possession game. Defense locked in. The ball doesn't just find him, it stays with him. Not because there are no other options, but because everyone knows the right decision will come from his hands. That kind of trust isn't given. It's earned through consistency and composure. The Thunder started winning games they had no business winning. And more often than not, the common thread was Shai controlling every possession like a conductor guiding an orchestra without ever raising his voice. Another clear sign of his arrival is consistency. Superstars aren't defined by peaks, they're defined by reliability. Night after night, regardless of opponent, arena, or circumstance, Shai delivers. There's no longer surprise when he drops a big night. The surprise comes when he doesn't. The league has adjusted, defenses have adjusted, and yet his efficiency hasn't fallen. That changes how he's viewed internally across the NBA. Coaches no longer prepare to contain the young guy. They prepare to survive him. And maybe the most telling sign of all is his demeanor. There's no rush, no desperation for validation. He plays with the calm of someone who knows exactly who he is. It shows in his body language, his shot selection, his patience after mistakes. That level of maturity usually comes after years of deep playoff runs. But Shai built it through repetition, through losses, through steady growth. The moment he stopped being a prospect didn't come with fireworks. It came with control. And that's far more dangerous for the rest of the league. There's a kind of greatness that doesn't need to announce itself. It simply appears on the scoreboard, in scouting reports, and in the quiet frustration of defenders walking back on defense. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander embodies that kind of dominance. In an era where stars chase attention with logo threes and viral moments, he's built his rise on something far rarer. Relentless efficiency paired with volume scoring. These aren't empty stats on a losing team. These are numbers that drive real wins. 30-point nights, elite shooting efficiency, constant trips to the free throw line, all without hijacking the offense. That combination alone places him squarely in MVP conversations. What makes it even more impressive is how those numbers are created. He doesn't rely on a single weapon, no overdependence on the three-pointer, no reckless shot selection. Instead, he scores wherever the defense allows, and often where it doesn't. Mid-range pull-ups, crafty finishes, floaters, off-ball cuts, and elite mismatch recognition define his game. While many stars live and die by hot streaks, Shai offers something far more valuable: reliability. You know exactly what you're getting every night, and still can't stop it. And context matters. Defenses are built specifically to stop him. Game plans revolve around him. Yet the production continues. That's the difference between inflated numbers and true dominance. When a player thrives while being the primary focus of every defensive scheme, the conversation changes. At that point, the question is no longer whether he belongs among the league's elite. The real question becomes, who's actually capable of stopping him? There's also a detail that rarely makes headlines, but that sharp analysts never overlook: impact on both ends of the floor. Shai isn't just a scorer. He leads in steals, jumps passing lanes, disrupts plays before they even develop. That creates extra possessions, shifts momentum, and fuels transition opportunities that decide games. True superstars don't just put points on the board. They influence the game on multiple layers, and Shai does that consistently. Maybe the reason this dominance still feels understated has to do with market size and personality. Oklahoma City doesn't come with the spotlight of a major media hub, and Shai doesn't chase attention off the court. But inside the league, the math has already been done. When you put up MVP-level numbers with elite efficiency, defensive impact, and wins, the conversation stops being about hype and becomes about facts. The quiet around Shai doesn't diminish his greatness, it actually makes it more dangerous. Because while some still debate whether he deserves the superstar label, he keeps stacking evidence that's impossible to ignore. In a league obsessed with speed, spacing, and instant decisions, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander moves in the opposite direction and somehow dominates because of it. His greatest weapon isn't explosive first steps or logo threes, it's complete control of pace. Shai plays like he has an internal metronome, adjusting every possession to the tempo that hurts the defense most. When opponents speed up, he slows it down. When they retreat, he attacks the empty space with surgical precision. That level of control is rare, especially in a young player, because it requires something that can't be taught: emotional command of the game. That control shows up in the details: the way he uses his body to shield the ball, the subtle angle changes on drives, the way he manipulates defenders with his eyes before attacking the opposite space. He doesn't force advantages, he waits for them to reveal themselves. That breaks modern defensive schemes built on predictability. Against Shai, there is no fixed pattern, there is only adaptation, and by the time the defense adjusts, it's usually too late. This command also defines his decision-making. Shai rarely wastes possessions. His shots come from his spots. His passes arrive exactly when the help defense commits. He understands that every possession carries weight, and he treats each one with the same level of intention. That's a hallmark of the game's greatest players: the ability to turn chaos into control, even under pressure. Ultimately, what makes this level of control so devastating is how it feels to the opponent. There's no panic, no rush, no visible strain, just the growing realization that Shai is always one step ahead. And when a player reaches that level of command, he stops being just talented, he becomes inevitable. There's a fundamental difference between a great player and a true superstar: the ability to turn talent into consistent winning. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has crossed that line. His leadership doesn't come from speeches or theatrics, but from example. He sets the standard through preparation, composure, and execution. In a young locker room like Oklahoma City's, that kind of leadership is transformative. The impact shows in the team's growth. Young players develop faster when they know exactly who to follow in critical moments. With Shai, the ball finds the right hands when it matters. That clarity brings structure, confidence, and belief. It turns potential into production. Another separating factor is how Shai performs in the clutch. In late-game situations, when possession slow and pressure peaks, he doesn't shy away or defer responsibility. He reads the defense, chooses the most efficient option, and lives with the result. That presence alone changes how opponents approach the Thunder. They're no longer facing a young, unpredictable team. They're facing a closer who demands respect. Defensively, Shai's impact is just as meaningful. His steals, deflections, and anticipation generate easy points and swing momentum. When your best offensive player also raises the team's defensive ceiling, the effect multiplies. He doesn't just elevate his own game, he lifts the entire group. And when a player becomes the gravitational center of winning, the superstar label stops being a debate and becomes a conclusion. Looking at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander today, the question is no longer whether he belongs among the NBA's elite, it's what kind of superstar he's becoming. Because there's a difference between shining briefly and building something that lasts. Everything about Shai's trajectory points to the latter. He's not dependent on trends or temporary advantages. His game is rooted in fundamentals, awareness, and control, qualities that age well and sustain greatness. His legacy is already taking shape in how he's redefining Oklahoma City's future. In a short time, he's gone from promising talent to the axis around which the franchise turns. Young players grow faster around him. The team competes with belief. That's the mark of a true franchise cornerstone. And the future? It's even more intimidating for the rest of the league. Shai is just entering his prime. With more playoff experience, more defensive adjustments to face, and greater responsibility, his command of the game will only deepen. MVP conversations, championship contention, league-wide dominance, none of that feels speculative anymore. It feels inevitable. In the end, maybe the clearest sign that Shai has truly reached superstar status is the way the conversation around him has changed. People no longer debate his potential. They debate his place in the hierarchy. And when a player reaches that point, the discussion settles itself. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander isn't the future of the NBA. He's the present, and if this is only the beginning, what comes next could define an entire era. Shai didn't ask for permission to get where he is. He didn't take the loudest path or the easiest one. While others chased attention, he built something far more lasting: respect. Respect from defenses that change their entire game plan because of him. From teammates who trust him with the final possession. From a league that, even if reluctantly at first, now recognizes it's witnessing something special. The 5 reasons we've broken down here aren't projections or hype. They're patterns. Patterns that repeat night after night, season after season. Control of the game, elite production, real leadership, winning impact, and a future that doesn't just look bright. It looks dangerous. What might be most impressive about Shai is how he defies expectations. He doesn't play to make history, yet history seems to follow him. He's building something quietly, steadily, and with purpose. A legacy that doesn't rely on noise or flash, but on consistency and substance. If superstars are the players who change the direction of franchises and redefine how the game is played, then the answer is already clear. Shai isn't trying to get there. He's already there. Now the question is yours, and I genuinely want to hear it. Is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander already a true NBA superstar, or does he still have something left to prove in the playoffs? Is he on the same level as names like Luka, Jokic, and Giannis, or is there still another tier above him? Drop your take in the comments, because this conversation is just getting started. And if you enjoyed this deeper, more thoughtful breakdown, hit that like button, share it with that friend who still says Shai is underrated, and subscribe so you don't miss the next story. Some stars shine bright, but only a few truly light up an entire era.